Hi, everybody. My name is Matt Carpenter with College Aid Pro. I have a very special guest today, somebody that's been a buddy of mine in the space for, I don't know how long, Deb. Do you know how long?
Like at least 15 years, I feel like.
About that. Yeah, we go back a little bit. So this is Deb Heller. I really appreciate Deb taking time out of her very busy day. As you school counselors knows, they're all very busy days, I think, at least in my experience of being a fly on the wall. Thank you, Deb.
You're very welcome. It's good to be here.
Yeah. So Deb is joining us from Beacon High School in New York City, where she's been the school counselor or college and career counselor department head for how long? How long you been at?
15 years.
15 years. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's my 16th year here. Yep.
Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you. Yeah.
And how would you?
It doesn't feel like that long.
Yeah, exactly. It really doesn't. That's a good
Yeah.
thing. And how would you describe Beacon High School for folks that are tuning in from?
If they're not familiar with New York City, the school system at all. So we are a public school. Yeah, we're a public school, but New York City, if you live in any of the 5 boroughs, you have to apply to high school. It's actually pretty competitive to get into Beacon. We have about a 10% acceptance rate. So that's hardcore. The advantage to that is the kids who really want to be here are the ones who get in. So we have kids who are in high school, whereas normally in a high school, they're like, our kids are excited to be at our school, which is pretty unique. We are also a consortium school. So we are in the state of New York, but we do not have to do the regions for the state of New York. Instead, we do portfolio-based assessments. So we're really all about our kids' love of learning and really seeing that they've taken in and learned what they're doing in class, very discussion oriented. We do a lot of papers, no multiple choice. They have to present at the end of each semester what they've learned over the course of the semester. So it's unique, but it really prepares them really well for college.
Yeah. And just being, again, fly on the wall, in my experience, just working with a fair amount of families. So I think this is enough of a sample size where it's representative of the DNA of the school. But like, I just generally very good students, driven students, kind human beings, generally from nice families. Is that, have we been getting lucky, or does that seem like
no, I think more or less that's what we're getting. Obviously, we've got a couple parents every year that are just, and
who are those this year? What are their names?
What are their names? And then we definitely have some families where we don't ever see the parents, but for the most part, the parents are pretty involved.
Yeah. Again, I don't know if it seems to be that a decent percentage of the students do seem to be like pretty into the arts. Is that a part?
Yeah, so one of our like biggest competitors is LaGuardia, which is literally all arts. So kids tend to come here if they want really strong arts, but also really strong academics. We have an entire floor for music, and they have like practice rooms and recording studio and all that kind of stuff. We've got like a robust theater program. We're often the first school to put on a play that's allowed to put on the play, the first high school. And then we've got film and arts, fine arts and everything, all that kind of stuff. So the extracurriculars are huge here. And a lot of that is because we have funding from parents. We have a lot of families. We're very representative of New York City. So we have a lot of families with a lot of money and a lot of families with no money. But the families with a lot of money tend to give a lot to the school. So we are able to make sure that everyone gets everything.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool, unique environment, again, in terms of what I've got to experience over the years. And I think it's always funny too, of New York City, just how competitive it is and how like the best of the best. And Beacon, you guys.
Very often people come in and they're like, oh, Beacon, getting into Beacon was harder than the college prep.
I've heard that before. I've actually heard that before. And then, but I always get reminded, I had a conversation like this not too long ago with a Beacon parent and just getting to know them and their kid. And it was like, hey, no, but they're not really a good tester. And we took the SATs, but they only got a 15-10. So I don't know if we're going to do that. Like that, I have to remind these people
like what?
You live in, you're a kind of friend. Plenty of people would accept that score.
Yes. Okay. I try to get the students not to talk to each other about things like that because not all of our kids are at that level and we don't want to stress each other out, you know?
I hear it. Okay. Let's talk about Deb Heller a little bit more. So where did you grow up? Where are you from?
I grew up in New Jersey. East Brunswick, and I went to a good high school, big. We had about 600 per grade. And then I went to UMass Amherst for college.
Did I know that?
I think we might have talked about it like years ago.
All right, well, buried the lead there. Wow.
I'm
Okay.
so sorry.
Yeah, you went. Okay. Oh, so you went to, wow. And how was that experience?
I went to UMass. It was great. I loved college. I think it would be probably weird if I hated college and became a college counselor, but I loved college and I got to be with all the Massachusetts people. Yeah, no, it was great. The accents were hard sometimes, but we struggled through. And then I studied psychology. I had zero idea what I wanted to do with that. And I got recruited for like a technical recruiting firm out of college. And I did that for a summer before I was like, I can't do this the rest of my life.
Okay.
A lot of like cold calling, not my vibe. And then I worked in advertising for a year in human resources office at an advertising agency, which was super fun. But I just didn't feel like I was like really helping the world.
Okay.
So I applied to grad school for school counseling. I applied to one school that was like 20 blocks from my apartment. Okay. And I was like, okay, if I get in,
what school was that?
Hunter.
Got it.
And I now work at Hunter.
You work at Hunter now?
Yeah, I teach in their graduate school counseling program, the same program that I graduated from.
Very cool.
Full circle.
I guess so. Yeah. Did you have an aha moment of I want to become a school counselor? Or was it a progression or what was the?
I don't think my aha moment was actually until I was like in the field doing the job. Honestly, okay. I was still just, sure, this sounds good. And then when I did my internship, we did practicum and internship. So I did the practicum first 1 day a week, and the counselor I was under also did college counseling. Okay. And that's like it was like 20 years ago. It was just starting to be a real thing, college counseling. And I realized that in addition to helping students like figure themselves out, I loved the organizational piece of college counseling and the kind of talking with people outside the school and that kind of stuff. So I did my internship strictly in college counseling, and I've been doing college counseling ever since.
That's awesome. And does it get to be a decent delineation for you? Are you pretty much just doing college counseling versus how much is I just broke up with my boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever, and
we get that too. Don't you worry.
Okay, we're having trouble at home, because I know a lot of the school counselors that I work with, they love the college piece, but it could be 15% of their job as much as they would like.
No, it's really, I would say it's 90% of my job. The way that our school does it, we have 4 guidance counselors, and they're dealing with, typically my boyfriend broke up with me, and scheduling and all that kind of stuff. And then we also have 2 social workers who are dealing with more like diagnosed situations. And then there's 4 college counselors now at Beacon. We just hired a 4th.
Oh, okay.
So we have 3 that kind of separate, we each get a part of the grade. And then 1 is specifically an IEP college counselor who supplements and gives more time with the IEP students who need it.
Got it. Now, I don't know if this is a hard question or not, but we'll try, right? Because I know you have a network of sorts of fans you have a lot of fans.
My intern army?
Yes, exactly. Your interns are now at different places. Yeah. So you really seem to be a mentor of sorts, right? I
try, yeah. I think that's the role that I have like specifically decided to take on. And I think it started when I started working at Hunter. I'm typically teaching classes, obviously new counselors, and I try to keep in touch with them and help guide them through their careers. And also we have 5 or 6 interns a year at Beacon, and I'm the person here who's in charge of the interns. And so we've come up with kind of a program for them. So it's not just like willy-nilly, they really get like a training. So I do a college workshop for any new counselors that want. It's like a 12-hour workshop I do in August, and I make all of my starting interns do that. So they have a really good background in some college counseling before they even start. And then I also, because I have a network of people that, are in schools, I try to help them get jobs.
That's awesome. I love it. Do you have, obviously it's impossible to encompass this in a sentence or whatever, but do you have some over like themed advice or guidance, or maybe another way to frame that is, hey, if you could go, knowing all that you know now, knowing all the experience that you've gained over the years, if you could go back and talk to yourself and be like, oh, I wish I told myself this on day 1, right?
Yeah.
Or is there some general messaging that you would share? I'm sure there's some new counselors that might listen to this.
Yeah.
Benefit from your wisdom.
I think that one thing is it's okay not to know everything. I feel like sometimes, especially like the best counselors, are they expect to finish grad school or start their first year and be like, oh no, I have to do everything right, or I have to be the best counselor there is. And it's like, you're still learning. Give yourself the time to learn. Like I'm still learning. There's always more to learn. I'm 20 years in and I still feel like I'm learning. So I think to cut yourself a little slack, and it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to, the first 4 years that I did this job, I was like, I'm just faking it till I make it. Like I felt like I had no idea what I was doing. I was helping. I just didn't, I felt like because I didn't know everything, I wasn't helping enough. And I think just giving yourself that kind of, okay, listen, we're going to take a few years and get into it. The other thing too, is I think people make the mistake of like their first year in a job trying to change things. I always say first year, just do whatever's in place there and take it all in. And then the second year, really sit down and figure out, okay, like what needs to change, what needs to be updated. And that helps you in terms of your learning process, but that also you're not like impeding, like you're not coming into the school and changing things. Nobody likes that.
Yeah, reinventing the wheel on day one type of deal. Yeah, that's great advice. That makes sense.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. And then what do you, obviously you've stuck with it here. So I'm assuming the pros are outweighing the cons for the most part.
I've had a great experience here. I feel really lucky that I've had a lot of support from my principals. And I think that is key. I think when I first started, I had a great principal at a school in Boston, and I just was like, oh, cool, this is great. And then I came and had a horrible principal at my first school in New York. And I was like, oh, wow, this makes a complete difference. Like having the administration to back you up and buy into college. If the college process is not important to the principal, they're not going to back you up. I had zero backup at that school. If anything, like I just felt like the principal, she was just like, yeah, no, like you have no funds, you just do whatever you can. And I loved the kids and I helped them, but I felt like I was fighting the administration to do that every day. So I think for me, one of the main reasons I stay at Beacon is I have full support of the school, and the PA is amazing. Like they pretty much fund everything that we need for the kids. And also one of my colleagues is one of my best friends in the world. We met here, like we're very much a team together. And then the two newer people we hired are just fantastic, but we got to hire them. Like we were involved in that process, which I think makes a big difference.
No, great call.
I'm never leaving.
And I think, hey, listen, why would you? And I guess you hit on some of these. What do you love about your job? What are the parts about it that are a pleasure? One
thing I will say is like when I got here, I was so excited because all of the pieces that I didn't like about my past jobs, I didn't have to do here. Like I hate testing. I was in charge of T testing and like all the testing for the school at my last job. I also had to teach a class on college counseling to everyone, to like the whole school, junior, senior year. And it's really hard because it's such an individualized process that a lot of stuff just didn't pertain to everybody. And so if you can do it individualized, you should, I feel like. Certain things, of course, like we do Naviance training. There are certain things that we can do in a group, but a lot of the bulk of the work like really needs to be done one-on-one.
Sure.
So those are some of the things I love. And like just someone 10 years later coming back and being like, look at what I did. Thank you so much. Like those are like the real things that I live for. Yeah.
I can see that being incredibly rewarding. All right, let's go to the other end of the spectrum here. What are the biggest challenges? We all have things that we don't like about our job. I don't know. It doesn't have to be Beacon specific, but maybe just.
No, I think a lot of people will say this, but parents sometimes can be challenging. You know, I at least once a year, a parent says to me, if my kid's not getting in, who's getting in? Other children. But other people's kids are getting it. So I think our philosophy here is like very much like we're going to find a good fit for you. And I think sometimes parents are really focused on name or like recognition and not what is best for my child in terms of the fit. So we really try to reframe it as much as possible, but there are definitely parents who will not hear anything we have to say and will email us every day, 6 paragraphs. So luckily that's not most of the parents. It's a handful, but they take up a lot of time. Definitely.
There's always those, and it's like my thing lately has been like baking that into expectations, right? And not even hoping that it's not going to happen because it is every single year, and that's never going to change, right? And like, oh, here they are. I knew this was coming.
Yeah, I mean that's obviously hard, and then the frustration of just kids not listening. Like we really try to. I'm going to send it to you in an email. I'm going to tell it to you. I'm going to do it, but some kids are like, oh, I know, I didn't know that. And you're like, there's no way you didn't know that.
This is documented. This is documented. Yeah. Yes, you did in fact know that.
You knew that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. No, that makes sense. Let me see. And then for summers, are you off entirely? Are you doing some stuff? Are you, what's
I'm never off entirely. Let's be real. My email, my inbox would be way too big. But yes, I'm off all summer. I try to do a couple college tours if I can, and I'm constantly responding to emails. But yes, I'm off in the sense I don't have to be at school.
Good for you. And any plans of grandeur in the near future? Any big trips you just
Obviously.
had? Or
Well,
on the
I'm actually going on the Best of UK tour, so a college tour in the UK for 2 weeks at the end of June. And then since I'll be in Europe, I'm just going to stay there. I'm going to visit a friend, and then I'm meeting up with some people and doing a Mediterranean cruise of Turkey.
Yes. Wow. Good for you. That's a big one.
Thank you.
Good for you. That's
Thank
great.
you. And then I do some college consulting on the side. So that's pretty much August. So I try to go away in July, and then I come back to that in August.
Which reminds me, we got to talk about that. Yes,
okay.
Yes. Okay. That's very cool. And then I guess I think it did a great job answering my basic questions that I have for you. I think you gave good people.
I do like to talk.
Buddy, that's why you were on the short list of first guests here. Fill this airspace in no time. And then how about some advice that, again, in general, that you give the kids, specifically the kids, the seniors, as they're going through this experience that is kind of a beast of applying to college and all the highs and lows? And
I think not getting stuck on one school obviously is really helpful, and keeping an open mind. Sometimes I love this school, and then this is my school, and that's it. And helping them to understand there's probably 100 schools you'd be happy at, if not more. And doing the research at the start will ensure that you're in the right place at the end, right? So if you really research the schools and aren't doing it based on name, and really make sure, okay, every school that I've applied to, I could see myself there, then there's no way to go wrong, because we're going to make sure you have a balanced list and that you're going to be able to get into at least some of your schools, right? So if every school that you're applying to is a place you can see yourself, you're going to end up someplace good. It may not be your top choice, but you're going to end up someplace that's the right fit, because you're only looking at schools that are the right fit.
Awesome. It's great advice. I love it. Okay, everybody. Well, that's Deb Heller, New York City, Beacon High School. Hopefully you guys learned a couple things, and you got another colleague out there fighting the good fight, Deb.
Yeah.
And, thank you so much for taking the time, and we'll be in touch, as I always am, shortly. I'm sure you'll be hearing from me, and thank you again, Deb. Have an awesome day.
Great. Thanks for having me.